All right, Cadet Master Sergeant Kade Bruce, is that correct?
That's correct.
Hey, what's your cap ID?
686-304.
Okay. You understand that this is being recorded for your annual Form 5, that once we're done with this, we're going to send the recording off to Brian Jones in Joplin. He's going to be the ultimate check pilot who approves or denies you.
Yes, I do.
But you're giving us permission to record it.
Yes.
All right. So you went online and completed an annual online written exam. That's your 70-1U.
Yes, I have.
All right. Can you explain to me a little bit about Regulation 70-4?
Yeah, 70-4 is SUAS flight management. That's going to outline the qualifications needed to obtain certain SUAS qualifications, as well as outlining the regulations of what you can and cannot do at certain stages of SUAS qualifications.
Okay. Flight release procedures.
Flight release procedures, you're required to fill out an ORM score each time you start a mission. If it meets a certain score, then the pilot in command can authorize that flight to be released. If it's above a certain score, then you have to go higher up the chain of command to get that flight approved.
Okay. Can you kind of review with me your WIMRs and ORM requirements?
Yes, so WIMRs, each time you start a new mission, you need to enter that mission into WIMRs, and after you've done that, that allows you to add air sorties and also check members in to the mission that you're performing. Your ORM, that's kind of what I just talked about with flight release. You do have to fill one of those out every time you start a mission as well.
Okay. Can you review Regulation 76-1?
Regulation 76-1 was rescinded.
Okay. Can you kind of walk me through some emergency procedures? So we got an in-flight fire. What are you going to do?
First thing to do is put that aircraft down as quick as we can, in as safe a manner as we can, in as safe an area as we can.
Okay, so we don't want to catch bushes on fire.
You don't want
grass.
to catch bushes on fire, land it in grass, land it in a populated area, a roadway, anything like that.
Okay. What if we have a lost link between the aircraft and the control station?
Lost link procedure, turn the control station off and turn it back on to try to regain control. If that doesn't work, maintain the visual line of sight as long as you can and report it to the local authorities if necessary, and use the incident reporting tool to report the incident.
Okay. Electronic flight log. Are you keeping your flight log on paper?
I'm keeping my flight log on paper today, yes.
Okay. You got your 107 certificate?
Yes, I do.
Okay. We'll just kind of flash that up in the camera. How about a trust certificate? Do you have that?
I do have the trust certificate as well. So here's the Part 107.
Okay, good enough.
Okay. And I'll send him the number for that afterwards as well. I'm on it. And
well, can you...
there's trust.
Okay, yeah, that's good enough. Can you walk me through obtaining your weather information before you fly?
Yes, weather. So I've got a radar on my phone that I'm going to use to obtain the weather information. Looks like for tonight we're clear skies. The wind's 8 miles per hour. My UAV, which is personally owned, it can fly in up to 15 knots of wind, so we know that we're safe to fly tonight. We have no sort of precipitation on the radar, so by all means should be a safe flight tonight.
Okay. Can you kind of explain to me a little bit about weight and balance on a drone?
Yeah, weight and balance. So that's, you're going to have your ideal weight and balance right out of the factory if it's a commercial off-the-shelf drone, but you still want to, or UAV, but you still want to make sure that all of your rotors are properly balanced. You don't have any sort of camera or gimbal protectors on the aircraft that would offset that weight at all. And before you get up super high or you start flying out, You'll want to hover your aircraft, do a systems control check to make sure that everything's balanced as it should be.
Okay. Is there anything you want to maybe elaborate on and determine in weight and balance?
You definitely want to make sure that your aircraft is not over 55 pounds.
Okay. Where I'm headed with that is when you get into a more commercialized drone, you can actually mount different cameras or features on them, whether it's an RTK module or a speaker or light. And so you want to make sure that it's not too front heavy.
Right. You want to make sure that even after you add those attachments, you still have the proper center of gravity.
Right. Okay. Lost my place here. Okay, can you demonstrate a Lance filing for me?
Yes, I can. So I'm using the air control app
Okay.
to demonstrate my filing. Do you want me to hold it up in front of the camera?
If you want to.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I already have some of my report loaded in. I just put that I was loading in as part 107 tonight. My height, I wouldn't plan on going over 100 feet tonight. So we'll put 100 feet. And then we'll go to next. When and how long? We'll say it's 2 hours. Some notes down here. The authorizations can be made up to 90 days in advance. Just like that. We'll go to next. And the pre-check failed because the plane operation was outside of controlled airspace.
Okay, so we don't
need a Lance for tonight. But if you were in controlled airspace, that's the steps that you would take to file it.
Okay, good enough for me. Determining landing performance, we'll address that here in a minute. Explain to me determining your landing performance.
Landing performance. So ideally, we're going to want to take off in the same, or land in the same position that we took off from. So for our takeoff point, we're going to select an area that's flat and level, but we're also going to look beyond our takeoff area to see if we have to put that aircraft down in an emergency. Where's our next best area that we can put it down?
Okay. I think that's probably something that needs to be over in the maneuvers section, but determine airspace restrictions. We're Class E airspace right here, so do we have any restrictions?
No.
Okay. Maybe just stay under 400 foot?
Yeah, stay under 400 feet. You can't go above 400 feet in a UAV without filing for a waiver.
What are some other restrictions that we could encounter?
Other restrictions that we could encounter, we have to stay within visual line of sight tonight.
Okay. I guess what I'm asking is, what are some other air spaces that we could run into? So like right now we're in Class E, there's B, C, D.
Well, we could definitely run into Class D. I believe SGF is Class B or C. So we definitely want Class C, so we definitely want to keep an eye on that, as well as the approach patterns.
Okay. Can you walk me through your aircraft systems?
Yes.
How does this thing work? What are we flying today anyway?
We're flying a DJI Mini 2 today. I'll take the gimbal protector off. Could you hold that for me? It's a rotary wing SUAS. It's got a remote that connects to my phone, which I can then connect via cord and connect to Bluetooth. And my phone is actually going to be my screen that I see outside of my camera as I'm flying.
Okay. Can you explain some aeromedical factors?
Yes, aeromedical factors. Tonight, we do need to keep in mind our depth perception because it's dark. Some pretty common and very regularly emphasized aeromedical factors are levels of intoxication. If you've had any alcohol alcohol within the last 8 hours, you cannot pilot UAV, whether that's as the pilot in command or as the visual observer, or if you're taking any drugs that would inhibit your ability to fly.
Okay.
Fatigue is a really common one as well, so you really want to check yourself, whether you're the pilot in command or the visual observer, to make sure that you've gotten the proper sleep to operate the UAV.
Okay. I think there's a acronym, I am safe.
Yes, there is.
All right. You want to go ahead and conduct a visual inspection of your aircraft?
Yes. And I gave you my gimbal protector, right?
Yes, Chief.
Okay. Everything looks good in that case.
What can you just kind of walk me through? What are you inspecting? What are you looking at when you?
Yeah, so the three main things that I'm looking for, or the four main things actually, is to make sure that my battery's installed, make sure that I have an SD card in the aircraft, make sure that all of my rotors are in good shape, and make sure that my gimbal protector is off.
Okay, maybe looking for loose screws or loose arms.
Yes, any sort of loose screws, any sort of dings, nicks on the unit, want to be checking for that as well. And I haven't seen any of that tonight.
Okay. Do you have any sensors on that aircraft that would be like an object avoidance or anything?
I do not.
Okay. Can you maybe explain what that would be if your aircraft was equipped with it?
Yes, so that would be a sensor that if you're getting too close to one of those trees or one of those light poles, it would send you an alert.
Okay.
And I believe that there's some that would even alter your course.
Do we need to make sure that those sensors are not scratched or have any debris or dust on them?
Yes, definitely. You want to make sure that they're operating before you get into your flight operations.
Okay. I'm going to take this section a little out of order here because we're not going to start our engines and then brief our crew.
Right.
Do you have a checklist that you go through?
Yes, I do. It's right
Okay.
here on my clipboard, and I'm going to have my visual observer take care of the clipboard for tonight.
Okay. Well, that's a good point. Would you like to go ahead and have your observer come in and do a crew briefing?
Absolutely. All right. So I'll go ahead and have you take this. We're going to go through some of these steps in the crew briefing section. So roll call. I'm present. You're present. Our training objectives for tonight. This is my annual Form 5. So we're going to be going through all the training maneuvers needed to complete that. Our mission timeline. We're going through the moral discussion right now.
Might speak up a little bit.
We'll do a flying portion after we're done with this. It has to last a minimum of 20 minutes. And then we'll perform a landing and a debriefing. So, environment, do keep in mind that it's after sunset here, so we do need to really keep our depth perception in mind and to not get disoriented. The weather's clear, as I've already discussed. We've got a wind of about 8 miles an hour. Airspace, we're in unrestricted airspace right now, so there's no need to file for a waiver or anything like that. Emergencies, if we have an in-flight emergency, we need to put it down. We're not going to put it down anywhere close to these vehicles if we can avoid it, nor in the grass. We're going to put it down somewhere on the concrete, not out on that street out there. If we have a lost link event, I'll power down my controller, power it back on to make sure that, or to see if that would give me my control back. If not, we'll keep the visual line of sight as long as possible. We'll note the direction and everything, and then we'll report that to the authorities as needed.
Maybe speak just a little bit louder.
Non-crew member briefing doesn't apply. Any questions for me? Okay. And do you believe that you're in the proper state to conduct operations as a visual observer?
Yes, Chief.
Okay.
Can I inject?
Yes.
So what's your job and what's his job?
So I'm the pilot in command.
Okay.
It's my job to operate the aircraft safely.
Okay.
His job as my visual observer is to make sure that I'm staying on the correct path and I'm avoiding any possible.
So you're
obstruction.
saying that he's going to maintain visual line of sight of the aircraft, you're going to watch your controls?
So we're both going to need to maintain visual line of sight. I'll have to look down at my controls sometimes, but I, as the PIC, still need to be maintaining some visual
Okay.
line of sight of that aircraft.
Okay, well, thank you for the clarification. Can you explain to me a little bit about sterile area procedures?
Yes, definitely. So we need to make sure that we don't have any individuals that are out in our flying area tonight, and we need to take note of any obstructions that we might have, like these light poles or these trees, and stay as far away from those as we can.
Okay. Maybe would you say that we can still communicate, but let's stay focused on what we're doing?
Yes, definitely. So we want to stay focused on the task at hand tonight, which is the SUAS operating in the air. So no talks about hunting trips.
Okay.
Well, it's out of season, so fishing trips, I guess.
Just so that I don't forget about it, we're going to pretend for a minute that we've already flown. What are your post-flight procedures?
So my post-flight procedures are going to be making sure that the aircraft's fully shut down before I approach it. I will call landing when I land, and then we're going to do a quick post-flight inspection of the aircraft, make sure that all is still well there, and then we'll get that aircraft boxed up, and we'll do a debriefing on what happened tonight in our flight.
Is there any other safety thing that you might announce before you start your aircraft?
Yes, we'll do, I'll call starting.
Okay.
Before I start the engines, and then I'll call takeoff.
Okay.
Before I get the aircraft in the air.
If we were on a live mission, would you know what radio frequencies, or would you have cell phone contacts?
Yeah, so I'd have cell phone contacts for the nearest ATC tower, as well as any sort of incident commander that we might have in that mission.
Okay. Can you kind of explain briefly airport traffic patterns?
Yeah, so an airport traffic pattern, as an aircraft pilot, you always want to land going into the wind.
Okay.
So what you're going to do when you're landing is you'll approach the airfield downwind at a 45-degree angle, and then you're going to turn around basically 180 degrees on your base and land it into the wind. So as an SUAS pilot, if we're operating near an airport, we need to keep in mind of how those aircraft are going to come in and kind of circle the airport before they land.
Okay. Well, you've already briefed your visual observer, done a pre-flight. Go ahead and show me a normal takeoff and climb.
Okay. Say right here, we are takeoff. Will you take the checklist, please?
Where are you planning to fly?
I'm planning to fly in this strip right here, in between this light pole and in between that tree, so we can stay clear
Okay.
of any obstacles.
I'm pretty sure my phone is picking up your audio, but just speak loud so
Okay.
that Brian can hear when
yeah,
he
and I'll
sees
be
this.
standing a little closer once I get it taken off, so I'm not so close to it.
Okay.
we do have a home point updated. So if we get too low on battery or something like that, our aircraft's going to return right here. And we do have satellite signals tonight, so our aircraft is going to stay as balanced as it can, so it won't be weaving around or anything like that if it didn't have those satellite signals. Okay. And are you ready to launch? Okay, let's stand a little bit closer to the camera here. Launching.
Launching. Doing basic control check.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All systems are good there.
All right. Well, we got 20 minutes of flying here, so demonstrate a straight and level flight. All right, bring it back. Okay, go ahead and rotate 90 degrees of your choice and do it again. Can you fly back out the way you were?
Oh, yes.
All I'm doing is helping you build 20 minutes and showing that you can fly in any direction.
Like that.
Yeah, so fly backward. Brian, as you're watching this video, my gimbal died on me, so that's why the camera's getting shaky. That's good, bros. Go ahead and bring it back, and then turn your aircraft sideways and fly out sideways, and then come back, and then rotate the other side. Good job. See if I can fix this thing real quick. Okay, just not having it. Well, if it's not going to work, we won't use it. Okay, can you demonstrate flying in a square pattern? So just fly straight, rotate 90 degrees, fly straight, rotate.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Go ahead and fly a square pattern again, but instead what you'll do is you'll fly straight, you'll fly sideways, fly backward, and then fly sideways. Yeah. And then when you get done with that, do the same thing, but in the opposite direction. Okay. Can you demonstrate a point of interest? Do you need a target to
Yes.
focus on?
It's all right. I thought we would move that cone out
Okay.
in the middle of there.
Cadet Bruce, could you assist with that? Or Beal, I'm sorry.
I'll raise it up for you. Bring it out of your area so there, Larry.
All right, so go ahead and make a complete circle around the target, and then once you get done with that circle, go back in the other direction. And I'm gonna focus more on your controller and
Okay.
you, because you've got a visual observer.
Right. Somebody want to get that card and not go over there?
They're turning.
Okay.
Good job, sir. Can you go the other direction?
Yes.
You want to demonstrate a approach for landing?
Yes. I'm not going to physically land or just demonstrate the approach.
Go ahead and do the landing, because that's also one thing that we were supposed to do in a previous section.
Gotcha. Landing.
Landing. Okay. If you would, go ahead. So you did landing and shutdown. We'll probably expand on that here in a little bit. Bill, could I have you do me a favor?
Sure.
Come hold my phone, and I'm going to take Cadet Bruce's drone. I'm going to put it in an unusual flight pattern, and he's going to have to figure out how to get it back home. If you would, please.
So do you want me to make another flight log for this?
Yes, please.
For another flight?
Yeah, it should be on the next page. You can switch that totally over if you'd like.
What battery percentage was off on that flight real quick?
65.
65%?
And it's battery number 1.
Yep, and we'll figure out the next later.
Yes, it's all logged in here.
All right, Cadet Bruce, would you please take off?
Yes. Launching.
Launching. Thank you, sir. Bruce, if you take your controllers for just a second.
Yours, you have control.
Okay, so his drone is out there without looking at your screen, sir. Keep an eye tell me what orientation it is, and kind of talk to me how you're doing that.
Okay, so it looks like the front of my aircraft with the camera is pointed that direction.
Okay, but what are some control movements you can do to determine that?
Well, we could do a rotation of the aircraft. As we can see, the light on the rear of the aircraft is turned towards us. So that tells me that the front of my aircraft is now facing the opposite direction of us.
Okay, I think where I'm going is, can you move your controllers and observe what direction that aircraft flies, and tell me your orientation that way?
Yes, I can. Okay, so with the way that we're flying, like that's flying in a northwest position.
What control input did you give it?
I gave it a forward input.
You gave it forward input, and what did it do?
It moved away from us.
It moved away from us.
Northwest.
Okay, so it's probably facing away from us.
Yes.
Can you demonstrate bringing it back home?
Yes, I can.
And then we gotta spend 6 minutes doing some kind of flight maneuvers. So if you want to go through your straight level flights again, you could. Square pattern, point of interest. We'll get our 20 minutes logged here.
Okay, it's back home. Would you like me to land it?
No, sir. Go ahead and keep flying.
All right.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Tell you what, let's give you a challenge. Can you orbit around that cone with the camera facing away from it?
Yes, I can.
I got faith in you. I'll bet you can do it.
Okay.
Can you go the other direction?
Yes.
That's a hard maneuver, isn't it?
It's a very hard maneuver.
Doing great.
I was not expecting that.
Are you familiar with what an expanded grid is?
I am not.
Okay. So you'd fly down, you'd maybe come over like half of a camera frame, and then
Oh,
you'd fly
yes.
back,
Yes,
and then you
I
go
am.
over. If you would, demonstrate that for me.
Sure. 1 minute. 1 minute.
If we go over 20, it's okay. I just want to make sure we hit that 20-minute mark. And we got a car coming behind us. We're clear. Okay. Okay, he's coming sideways. Okay, well, go ahead and bring her home and let's land that aircraft.
Landing.
Landing. Very good.
So that is 11, 12, 13, 14 minutes. And then 11 minutes to in the first flight.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
we've got over 20 there.
Good deal.
Can you kind of give me psychological aspects of night flying?
Yeah, so one of the main things that you need to worry about is your orientation and your depth perception. Those are both going to be compromised when you're flying at night.
Okay. Preparation and personal equipment.
Yeah, so one of the things that you might want to have are some beacons to indicate your landing area, to know where to bring that aircraft back to, and to let other people around you know that there'll be an aircraft landing there.
Okay.
As well as your PPE.
Okay, sounds good. Airport, aircraft lighting. Can you kind of maybe explain to me what your aircraft is equipped with and what we maybe need to fly with when we're doing night flights?
So mine is going to have a flashing strobe on the back of it, as well as a white light on the front that is constantly on. One of the things that you may want to be equipped with is to have a bright light that you can use if you need to on your person.
How far does that bright light need to be visible?
3 statute miles.
3 statute miles? Okay. Continuous strobe?
I believe it's strobe.
I believe it's strobe. Okay. What's some good, can you kind of explain to me night orientation and navigation?
Yes, so night orientation and navigation, you're going to want to make sure that you always know the direction that your aircraft is oriented in.
Okay.
To make it easier on yourself and reduce the probability of getting disoriented.
Okay.
And you can use the lights on your aircraft to establish that orientation when you're flying at a distance. Just make sure that you maintain visual line of sight.
How much battery you got left on that?
20.
20%. We're going to do one more quick flight.
Okay.
One, I need an emergency approach and landing.
Okay.
I need an emergency descent. Actually, just explain to me the emergency descent procedure on this aircraft.
So the emergency descent on this, it's done manually. It doesn't have an automatic emergency descent. If you're flying up at altitude and you need to get down to prepare to land, you'll want to make sure that the ground below you is safe to do so, and then get that aircraft down to a landing altitude as quick as possible.
Okay. What I'm looking for is, and this is more of a, it's going to destruct your aircraft, but there's an aircraft flying in your area and you got to get out now. What's your emergency shutoff procedure for that aircraft?
The emergency shutoff procedure is simply turning the power button off.
I don't think so. So with the DJI, move your controllers down and in or down and out?
It's down and in on mine.
Okay. And then that's going to kill your motors.
Right.
Okay. System equipment malfunction. What's your procedure on that?
Well, depending on the malfunction, if we still have the ability to get to a safe landing area, we'll want to do that as soon as possible. Not necessarily the same area that we took off from, because more systems could fail as we're trying to get back there.
Okay.
So the quickest, safest area that we can put it down, that's where we're going to land it.
Okay. If you would, please go ahead and take off and fly out there somewhere. And then what we're going to do is an emergency landing.
Okay.
And approach and landing.
to the same point that we took off from?
Sure.
Okay. Launching.
Launching. All right, your low battery buzzer is going off, so let's get that aircraft down.
Bringing it back. Landing.
Landing. Okay, good job. Can you explain to me a little bit about vigilance, risk management, and judgment?
Yes, so start with vigilance. One thing that, I mean, the easiest example of that is checking your area before you fly, making sure that you have no obstructions, no people in your sterile area, as well as checking yourself to make sure that you're fit to fly, and having your visual observer check themselves to make sure that they're able to fly as well.
Okay.
Risk management, it's a go, no-go situation. So that's a judgment call that you make before you take off every time. You want to check your weather, your surroundings, your own personal health to see if all of those parameters are adequate to take off and fly the aircraft.
Okay. Can you explain a little bit about battery management?
Yes, so the battery percentage on mine is displayed on the screen. That's a really useful tool with battery management. I know that when my aircraft gets to 20% battery, that it's going to initiate an auto return to home sequence.
Okay.
So now I canceled that sequence to do our emergency landing demonstration, but I want to make sure that when I'm getting close to 20%, I cut that mission and I start to head home so that I can get it on the ground before it hits that 20%. Usually, I'm not going to take off if the aircraft is anywhere close to that 20% battery level. I'll want it fully charged before
Okay.
I take off to fly.
Can you explain use of crew resource management?
Yeah, crew resource management, a lot of it is communication. Communicating with your crew member what's going to happen before, what happened, and then doing what's currently happening, and then doing a debrief afterwards, as well as delegating certain tasks like the checklist and filling out our flight log tonight.
Okay. Can you kind of demonstrate ground handling procedures?
Yes, ground handling procedures. We want to make sure that we land the aircraft in a safe area. If it's a normal flight operations, we'll want to make sure that the aircraft is totally off before we approach it, and that we do a check over of the aircraft after we land to make sure everything's still in good working order and that nothing happened that we weren't aware of during our flight. We'll want to, if we're boxing up for the day, we'll want to put all of our protectors back on. The wings on my aircraft fold up, so we'll want to fold those up and make sure that it's all stored properly.
Okay. Can you kind of briefly explain use of risk management, go, no go?
Yeah, once again, it's looking at what's around you, having some situational awareness and seeing how's my weather, how am I as a pilot, am I fatigued at all, can I go and do this mission safely, or does it need to be a no-go?
Okay. If you would, go ahead and just give your name and your cap ID real quick, just so that Brian's got it.
Cadet Chief Master Sergeant Kade Bruce, and my cap ID is 686304.
Alrighty. Good job, buddy.